Hey there, hi there, ho there. Welcome to the latest, greatest episode of your favorite politically incorrect sports commentary show. It is time for Sports Frenzy 2.0. I am your Uncle Kev, the maestro, Kevin Crane.
And I'm your Uncle Dave, the Conquistador Dave Height.
And as always, we will wrap up the last week in sports. Look forward to what's coming up this weekend.
Yep, we're recording here May 14th, 2025, dropping on Thursday the 15th, as it always does on Thursdays.
And we don't have any picks this week, so probably be a little shorter episode than normal, but I have a little recurring theme that I'm sure your Uncle Dave will buy into, where as we get to talking about the NBA, Major League Baseball, and National Football League, we will talk about how the respective commissioners for those three sports here recently have done very, very stupid things, either implicitly or explicitly.
Yeah, are we saving them for the final segment?
No.
Or shall we just cover it as we go?
We'll cover it as we go. So let's start off with the one I'm most upset with. So let's break away from what we've been doing the last couple weeks, and we'll get to the NBA and we'll get to the NHL playoffs. And I don't have anything bad to say right now about Gary Bettman.
Not yet.
I know you've got something to say bad in terms of a particular hiring, but we'll get to that eventually. Let's start off with baseball. And let's start off with one of the sickest, most pathetic decisions ever by a commissioner.
This is the most milquetoast, wishy-washy, I'm a frickin' pansy and have no clue how to run my sport decisions that Manfred could have made.
And I know there are people out there, talking heads, the pundits out there in the sports world, who are going to look at this as an overreaction. Some of them agree. Some of them, of course, are... It's about time. This is awesome. This is great.
It's a 50-50 split on reactions.
Of course, we're talking about the decision that came down from Rob Manfred to remove all deceased players and owners from the, quote, permanently ineligible, unquote, list immediately. Yes, that includes, most prominently, the all-time hits king, Pete Rose, and shoeless Joe Jackson.
Does this mean Marge Schott now has a chance?
She was not the owner. The owner was not Marge Schott. That was my first thought.
Ah.
No, it was a guy I've never heard of who used to be the owner for the Philadelphia Phillies, I believe.
Okay. Yes, I thought Marge...
I thought the same thing you did.
Had been banned for life for her antics.
Yeah. Yep, but it was not Marge Schott. So here's the problem. And I have this problem with the Hall of Fame when it comes to music, when it comes to any of the major sports. Because you didn't get along with the press. Because you didn't get along with the critics. Because the critics didn't like you.
Yeah.
Despite your achievements and your accomplishments, you are shunned. You are basically blackballed. You are banned.
Yeah, you did something that pissed off a critic who went to all their little sycophant friends and done history.
Yep. So now, to me, this is wrong on multiple levels. Number one, the whole death thing has always bothered me. And even, everybody's playing the quote from Pete Rose that he did an interview a few months before his death talking about this.
Yeah.
And basically saying, what good does this do my family and my fan base to reinstate me after I'm dead? He knew it was coming.
Yeah. I mean, it was obvious the road that it was going down.
Yeah, and I know he said until he's 10 feet under, okay. We get the point.
Yeah.
And he's right.
Who cares at this point? It's absolutely ridiculous.
It
Just
turns
like
into the
all the
ultimate
veterans committees who finally get people in who should have been in before they died. Now, oh, well, we'll put them in after. Yeah, great. Brilliant. Doesn't do a damn bit of good.
So yeah, my first criticism is the whole death thing, where we say now it's okay to put somebody in now that they're dead. Oops, our bad. We should have maybe done this a couple years earlier.
Or, how about you stick to your fucking guns and your decision, and if you're banned, you're banned. Boom.
Now, part two of my problem with this is that, again, I have heard people stick up for Rob Manfred, and I can't stand Rob
There's
Manfred.
no reason to stick up for this Yahoo.
You know, everybody's going, okay, well, at least now we can get Pete Rose in. And probably Shoeless Joe Jackson. Because outside of the Black Sox scandal, numbers warrant him being in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. That and his ban was a little murky with...
He just never got elected in.
Right. And his ban came from questionable interview tactics. That he was coerced into it, that the investigators got him drunk and coerced a confession on him.
Well, and of course, yeah, the accusation is...
Whereas everybody else, other witnesses, teammates said, no, he did not partake in it.
Well, and you look at the numbers, he sure as hell played his ass off in that World Series that he supposedly conspired to throw.
But the naysayers will say in the games he lost, he didn't perform as well as he did in the games they won. Well, gee, go figure. Usually, if you're going to lose, you're overpowered anyway, despite anything.
But now, again, this is where Rob Manfred could maybe save a little face. So he makes this big, bold decision here in 2025. The problem is, these players, the owner involved, have to go before the Classic Baseball Era Committee.
Yeah.
Which doesn't convene again until the end of 2027. Meaning Pete Rose, the earliest he's going to get in is 2028. Here's an idea, Rob, because again, Dave and I have to fucking run everything. Convene a special committee based on this decision.
Yeah.
This
How about you
year.
speed it up a little bit, dumbass?
Would it really be that difficult to do?
No.
Say, let's get together here at the end of 2025, get this taken care of for 2026. One way or the other.
Yeah.
We're
Either
gonna
they're in or they're not.
We're going to convene you guys early, the Classic Era Committee. You come in early, figure it out. Do you want them in, do you not?
End of discussion. But
'Cause again,
we have to continue delay.
Because God forbid you do something that's in the best interest of the fans and the best interest of baseball. One way or the other, closure.
Yeah.
Give us closure.
But no, you still can't figure out how to do anything right.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. So there's my number one commissioner complaint. Now as we look at the normal goings-on in baseball, we had two managers that got fired over the past week.
The Rockies finally actually made the decision and fired Black.
After they lost 21-0.
Wow,
Yeah.
they are... Whew.
And it didn't help much.
No, they are on pace to be 10 games worse than last year's White Sox.
Yep, through Tuesday night, the Rockies are 7-35, which puts them on a pace to go 27-135.
Yeek.
Wow.
Yeek.
Wow. But we're supposed to go, hey, they bounced back from that 21-0 shellacking to win the next game against the Padres.
Yeah,
And
the
I
Padres were tired from running the bases so much.
Yeah. So that made them 1-9 in their last 10 games. I mean,
Oof.
these again are issues that Rob Manfred and the rest of baseball will not fix.
No, you need a hard cap and a hard floor.
Now, shocking, because this is a team that doesn't spend a lot of money. One of those teams that's well run.
Yep, they draft well, they evaluate talent, they can develop.
That would be the Minnesota Twins. The Twins swept a doubleheader today from the Baltimore Orioles. Wow, the Orioles have really fallen apart.
Whoomp.
But the Twins are on a 10-game winning streak. We're going streaking, Dave. 10-game winning streak. The Twins actually, as I looked at the standings this afternoon, I was keeping track of all the early baseball games. The Twins are actually now the last team in if the playoffs were to be set today before the late games. That's what a 10-game winning streak will do for you. And their lineup, I look at that team, I know 2 players in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
I know
it's
2
a lot
players.
of who? Who are these guys?
Yep. And of course, we always wish ill will on the Dodgers because we hate the Dodgers.
Oh, so much.
So, of course, the young hotshot pitcher came over from Japan. Bargain basement price, roughly $7 million?
Yeah.
And, of course, nobody else really had a chance because West Coast, closer to home.
And
plus,
there.
And they bought him the bidets
Yeah.
for the locker room. But Roki Sasaki now goes to the injured list with no timetable for his return with a right shoulder impingement.
I hate impingements.
I don't like when impingements infringe on me. An impingement infringement.
Yeah,
Very
that's
irritating.
never good.
Very irritating. But just let's keep the Dodgers within a reasonable margin, you know?
Yeah.
God help me.
Not to run away.
I don't want to don't want to root for the Mets. But just the Padres, I'm all down for. Let the Padres
and Giants, and even the Diamondbacks aren't that. They're within 4 games.
Right.
So that's a hell of a competition there in the West.
Yep. So it's basically going to come down to who gets to beat up on the Rockies more.
Yeah, pretty
at the
much.
end of the season.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Oh, and as we wrap things up with the Rockies, we mentioned Bud Black getting fired. Third base coach Warren Schaefer is the poor sad sack who will take over on an interim basis
for the rest of the year.
Now, of course, we started last week our 2 brand new Sports Frenzy baseball watches. And, of course, the Rockies are one. We've given you our Rockies update. So now, as of this afternoon, the Yankees won. Aaron Judge hit the go-ahead game-winning home run. Aaron Judge, after today's game, hitting .412.
Oof.
Best in all of baseball. 41 RBIs, best in all of baseball. And Kyle Schwarber hit one out a little bit after the Yankees game wrapped up. So now Schwarber and Judge are tied for the Major League Baseball lead with 15 home runs each. But now, in terms of the Triple Crown,
Judge has got that in the AL.
Yep. So
it's a little early yet to be tracking our 300 club like we did last year.
Yeah. Yeah, but that's the one number that I don't know if he'll be able to sustain it.
The 400?
Even a high 300 average.
That's very difficult to do.
But we'll see. We'll see. And he's the one Yankee that I don't hate.
I know. He's kind of a likable guy.
And I can't deny what he's doing.
Yeah, he signed the big contract, and he seems to be performing better since he signed the big contract, unlike most of these guys who regress.
Yep. And of course, we talked about the Pirates, or the Rockies firing Bud Black. The Pirates fired Derek Shelton as their manager. And bench coach Don Kelly will take over there. And in either case, Rockies, Pirates, doesn't seem like the change is making any bit of difference whatsoever.
No. Go figure.
Well, Dave's got a couple things going for him in baseball this week. Number one, the Rockies.
Yep, still suck. And since the Pope was elected, the White Sox have gone 3-1. They lost the day after, but they've on a 3-game winning streak. So now all the Chicago meatball fans out there are going to go, hey, we got the Chicago Pope, so now the good Lord is going to rain down championships upon the city of broad shoulders there.
Yes, Pope Leo XIV, coming from the south side of Chicago, a White Sox fan.
Yep. Pictures of him with his brothers in all their White Sox gear at the 2005 World Series in Chicago.
Yep. But unfortunately,
it doesn't mean a damn thing. He's got other things to worry about than sports right now.
the White Sox are 13-29, playing right now as we are recording.
Yep, up 1-0 on Cincinnati in the fourth. Live update.
They're still in fifth place.
Still 14.5 back.
Behind the Detroit Tigers. And then, of course, the Chicago Cubs are looking for the sweep tonight against the Miami Marlins. They are 25-18. St. Louis currently in the second game of a doubleheader playing the Philadelphia Phillies. Lost the first game. Go Philly! Cubs are in first place. Currently, as of taping right now, 2 games up. Cubs are 2 games on those pesky, goddamn motherfucking Cardinals.
Cardinals have been down now. Looks like they're starting to creep back.
Yeah, better cut back on the swearing if we're going to try to get on YouTube.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah.
Add YouTube to Spotify, Good Pods, Pocket Cast, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, Amazon, Audible, and iHeart Sports Frenzy, baby.
And then, of course, don't forget to check out the Facebook page. And, of course, it's iHeartRadio. Facebook page will always have our updated picks for football, for NASCAR, and weekly for baseball.
Yep, and no NASCAR picks this week as they head into All-Star Weekend. And we'll talk more about that later.
Quick update on the YouTube thing. Dave and I did a little quick confab before we started recording. I showed him my test that I am working on. It's a little frustrating.
Slow uploads.
So, really, the problem is going to end up being, and I will, for better or for worse, censorship or not, I will get Sports Frenzy starting the upload tomorrow, Thursday, May the 15th. Now, it's probably going to take a week to upload all the episodes, because we want to give you the entire
Max
archive.
content, baby. Max content.
So, we will see how it goes. Hopefully, by the time we talk to you next week, we will be able to give you the celebratory announcement that we are officially on YouTube.
Because you need the back catalog so you know that we're right when we say, we fucking told you so.
Yeah, we've had issues with YouTube in the past, though. So
we are not holding our breaths.
Now, this time around, they cannot accuse us of copyright infringement.
This is true.
Which was the problem we ran into the last time. So, the obscenity stuff is what I'm worried about. But I start thinking about it, I'm going, they're playing music videos out there that are dropping F-bombs.
Exactly.
So what's the
We're
big deal?
Fine.
All I do is tell them, just like
Adult content.
Just like I tell Spotify.
Explicit lyrics.
So we'll see. If we get banned again from YouTube,
so be it.
We didn't lose anything.
It'd be a badge of honor.
Yeah, we didn't lose anything in the whole deal. We tried.
There we go.
Those fucktards screwed us again. All right, let's move on to the NFL.
Oh,
and
boy.
the international obsession from one Roger Goodell continues.
And the one team that got the shaft on this, the Minnesota Vikings.
Yep, now, of course, tonight, officially, as we record here on May the 14th, tonight the schedule release will actually happen, but it's been coming out in dribs and drabs. So as Dave said, the Vikings become the first team to play 2 consecutive road games, quote-unquote road games, overseas in 2 different countries.
Yeah.
They will
Ireland and Britain.
Yep, they will play in Ireland on September the 28th and then in London on October the 5th. Again, both of these games for them are technically road games.
Yeah.
So at least they're not screwing the fans in Minnesota out of a home game. But this is, again, where we're going to tie in my little rant about the commissioners.
Being an idiot.
Now, this one is something that I have been on my bully pulpit on for a while, my soapbox, Dave as well. But I'm not celebrating all of these international games like everybody else.
No, they suck.
And I did actually hear our boys on Boomer and Geo this morning, even though they didn't know they were defending us. They would if they knew. But they stepped up. Geo, I think, was the one that stepped up and said, I'm getting a little tired of this. And Boomer agreed with him and said, why can't we take some of these games from overseas and play them in cities here that never get an NFL game?
There you go.
San Antonio, Portland.
Birmingham.
Let's play some of these games in some of the American cities that never get to see regular season American football. So we're not the only ones.
Ugh. But Goodell is such a dipshit.
And I found out, I'm sure we discussed this, but maybe I had forgotten. My brain's getting older, a little bit of, the alcohol addled. I'd forgotten that ESPN actually has the Super Bowl coming up in 2 years.
Oh, Jesus, God, help us.
Yeah. 2027, ESPN gets a Super Bowl.
Oh, boy.
And we'll talk more about that in a second.
Yeah. All right. Something's coming out with the schedule. We all know Thanksgiving Day, the Lions host and the Cowboys host. Why in the fuck do they both get a Christmas game as well?
Now they're both on the road.
I don't care. Why
both on the
do
road.
those 2 teams get to play on 2 holidays? I call bullshit.
Yeah, the Christmas schedule is out. Early afternoon game is the Cowboys at the Commanders. Mid-afternoon game is the Lions at the Vikings.
It's
both those games are on Netflix. Again, another thing I despise about Roger Goodell is moving everything onto streaming. And then the night game, because of course the Chiefs have already requested, and the Chiefs get whatever they want. So the Chiefs have already requested they want to be the Christmas game, hosting Christmas games.
That's fine. But do not give Christmas to the Cowboys and the Lions. They've got Thanksgiving. And why the fuck are the Cowboys getting anything more anyway? They are irrelevant. They are a postseason nightmare.
Dave, they're America's team.
Bullshit! I call bullshit.
Of course, the night game on Amazon Prime, because Christmas will fall on a Thursday this year. So Amazon Prime will get the third game in the triple header, and that will be the Broncos at Kansas City.
And again, keep Kansas City off Thanksgiving if they're already playing on Christmas. You don't double dip the holidays. Give these other cities an opportunity.
Sorry, you said double dip. I thought of Seinfeld.
That
You dip your chip, you put it in your mouth, and then you dip it again. And the Cowboys, your favorite team, will also be involved in the season opener on September the 4th.
Why?
They will be in Philadelphia playing the world champion Eagles.
There's no reason for the Cowboys to be in this position. They suck.
Let's be honest about something. And this will actually tie in even more when we get to my third commissioner rant. These commissioners don't care about a third of the league. Let's say roughly 10, 11 teams,
they
10, 11 franchises, they don't care. They don't care right now about the Panthers. The NFL doesn't.
Nope.
They don't care about the Browns.
The Jaguars.
Nope. Jaguars, the only thing the Jaguars are good for, in Roger Goodell's eyes, is playing over, being the patsy, the stupid franchise, to agree, oh, we'll play again in London this year. They're literally a third of the teams in these leagues that these commissioners don't care about. And you're pointing out beautifully how, even though they are irrelevant, the Cowboys still are getting primo marquee matchups.
Yeah, there's no reason.
Then, of course, we'll find out.
When was the last time they made an NFC championship game? Was it 30 years?
Mid-90s,
30 years.
Yes, about 30 years ago.
Since they've been relevant.
Yeah. Yep. The only significant playoff moment they have had in 30 years is Tony Romo fumbling.
Yeah.
What was it, an extra point or a field goal hold?
Yeah.
That cost them the game. Then, of course, the Friday night after the Thursday night season opener. Well, Dave, this is a freebie. So this is so generous on the part of the NFL and Roger Goodell. Friday night. This is another new thing that we have to do now. We get the season opening game on Thursday night, and then we have a Friday night game. So September the 5th, we will get a free telecast on YouTube from Brazil. So right now, we know the Chargers are involved. It has not been confirmed yet, as we are taping, who their opponent will be. And of course, when it comes to our beloved Chicago Bears, we get the Black Friday game. And we get to go to Philadelphia to play the Eagles.
Yeah, that's no bueno.
That will be on Amazon Prime Video. Now moving on to other news in the NFL. Money, money, money. 3 big stories involving money. First up, Derrick Henry.
Boy got paid.
Yep. Derrick Henry gets a 2-year, $30 million extension with the Baltimore Ravens. 25 of it. $25 million guaranteed. Now, I do believe, if I was reading my sources, my source material correctly, that this wipes out. He had 1 year left on his deal.
Yeah,
this wipes out that deal. And so now it's just
place.
2 years.
Yeah.
So he's got 2 years left. Now, Trey Hendrickson in Cincinnati has only got 1 year left on his deal. But as usual, the Bengals are bengling all over themselves. Even though a lot of fans are happy, and I'm going to bounce this off of you, by the way. Fans are happy about them keeping T. Higgins. So now you've got Burrow getting paid, Jamar Chase getting paid, and T. Higgins getting paid. You're coming off an awful, abysmal
defensive performance. You did not need to sign both Chase and Higgins.
No, I think you should have let Higgins walk and taken that money and immediately
put it in your defense.
Paid Trey Hendrickson.
Yeah. Hendrickson has been putting up numbers. Now, he's not been doing himself many favors because every year he wants to redo his deal. Searching for the big blockbuster money. Okay, but you're not Max Crosby. Sorry.
He would point to his sack numbers and say he is.
Yeah, but
He would say he is Max Crosby. He is Myles Garrett. That's what he would say, based on the numbers he's put up. And all I'm saying is if I was running the Bengals...
In the short term, I wouldn't give him that kind of money. I would give him close, but not top. He does not deserve to be the highest paid defensive end.
I think that's a reasonable take. Now, we'll see what him and his agent think if we get to the point where they even start negotiating again.
Rumors are he wanted that they were kicking around the number 28.
That's not bad.
That would be reasonable.
Yeah, considering what? Garrett's getting 40?
I think that's what the Bengals were offering, was in the vicinity of 28 a year. And he poo-poo.
Well, there is a big gap between 28 and 40.
But at what point are you being a greedy prick and ruining the rest of the team? Chasing Higgins. Jamar Chase, I gotta be the highest paid receiver. No, how about you assholes stop trying to be the highest paid of anything? Take a reasonable salary so you can dump more money into more position players so you have a better overall team. Where does that chasing a championship come into play?
I do recall that there was a certain GOAT who tended to do that every year. The greatest of all time, Mr. Tom Brady.
Yeah, would always restructure.
Take less money.
Less to invest into the other positions. But no, the greedy, entitled, me generation is fucking it all up.
But again, I want to stress this. If I was running a team, and of course I should be, as should you, and we would face off in the Super Bowl every year with our respective teams, unless we were running the same team, then of course we would dominate every year.
That's right.
Patrick Mahomes would be our bitch. But I would look for balance. I would look for balance in my team.
Yes.
I would try to have, yes, a lot of offensive weapons, but I would want a stout defense as well.
Defense wins championships.
And I keep hearing this, by the way. You can't win a championship without a top-level quarterback. Tell that to the Chicago Bears of '85. Tell that to the Baltimore Ravens. Tell that to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who won with Jim McMahon,
I think you could say
Trent
that.
Dilfer, and Brad Johnson,
that with
respectively.
the Seahawks too, with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, he's getting made fun of already in New York Giants camp. There's a picture somebody posted of the 4 quarterbacks they have.
Yeah.
Of course, it's him, Jameis Winston, Tommy DeVito, and the rookie Jackson Dart. They've got a picture of them side by side by side by side, all in the same pose, getting ready to throw. And the other 3, Dart, Winston, and DeVito, are all, in shorts, one of those mesh shirts that they wear. Russell Wilson's wearing game pants. And everybody's ripping on him. Mr. Unlimited, wearing game pants in May.
Oh, goodness. You can't make this up, kids.
But at some point, you have to have a defense. That's the point.
Yeah, you do. And the Bengals don't have a defense.
So again, if I was in that front office, I would have looked at this and said, number one, they're a cheap organization.
Right.
Which shocks me that they actually paid T. Higgins.
Yeah.
They would have had a riot on their hands if they didn't pay Jamar Chase.
Right.
But the fact that they paid T. Higgins blows my mind.
You did need to overpay for Higgins, too.
You could have you still got guys out there on the street who could have come in and played for a year as a number 2.
Yeah.
Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper could have come in for a year.
Yeah.
On the cheap. And then you could have paid Trey Hendrickson and had money left over
to shore up other areas. You get it, and I get it.
Yeah. Now, here's something I don't get as we wrap up our NFL talk here. I get the fact that Derek Carr is retiring. Okay? He's got the bum shoulder. This whole weird exchange between him and the Saints over the last couple months, very bizarre.
It's
where they're like, is your shoulder okay? I don't know. I might have to shut it down. Oh, no, I don't have to shut it down. I'm okay.
This has been... The Saints are a shitty run organization. To have not been on top of this, to have not delved deeper, to have not had a contingency plan.
Yeah. Tyler Shuck is not a contingency plan.
No.
And
You just shucked your season away.
Shuck you, Dave. Shuck you.
It's gonna be
he's the front runner to be the starting quarterback.
Yeah.
They by the way, did you hear they signed some kid today? Today or yesterday? So now they have 4 quarterbacks. They've got Shuck. They've got Spencer Rattler, I think.
Yeah, Rattler I thought was supposed to be the heir apparent.
It's supposed to come down to between him and Shuck. And then Jake Hayner. And then they signed a kid who has not played on the D1 level in a couple years because he lost all of his D1 eligibility because he was in a betting scandal in Iowa State.
Oh, that doofus.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So they liked his he did a private workout, I guess, for him, and they liked him so much. He's in the quarterback room now.
So why aren't we hearing about the Saints being in the market for Mr. Rogers?
I don't know. Well, here's where it might impact whether they could make a run at Aaron Rodgers or not, because this is the part I don't understand. I am humble. I like to think I'm an intelligent human being, but there are many things in sports I do not understand. And one of them is when a player retires, what the hell the impact is on the salary cap. Because what I'm hearing, this is what I have researched this, believe me. I put way too much time into this, trying to figure out Derek Carr's cap implications for the New Orleans Saints.
Because they've been in cap hell forever.
Yes. Now, supposedly, cash-wise, bottom line, they don't have to pay him $30 million. His retirement means there's $30 million that was supposed to go to him that they do not have to pay him. But, when it comes to the ever-elusive number known as the salary cap, and the guaranteed
this
money...
This is the biggest moving target ever.
The guaranteed money that he got for signing his last deal, which I still think is bullshit. If you retire, you shouldn't get...
Everything is done.
It sounds hypocritical. But what kind of garbage is that where you sign a contract with X amount of guaranteed money, you don't even but hold up to half the deal.
Then
and you get all that guaranteed money anyway.
It should be prorated at that point.
So what I've been able to figure out is they have to wait until June the 2nd to formally announce his retirement and then cut him. In that case, they will only get this, only sustain a $19 million cap hit in 2025, and then they will get a $36 million, these are approximate numbers, $36 million dead cap hit in 2026.
No,
for a guy that retired.
The dead cap should disappear when a guy retires.
Nope.
If he's done, then it should come off the books completely.
And again, I looked at multiple websites, multiple sources, and that is the closest I could get. 19 million approximately for 2025, 36 million dead cap in 2026.
I want the official salary cap rules. And you can't find them anywhere. The NFL will not make them public.
Because I agree with you. You just said it a couple minutes ago. The New Orleans Saints are a piss-poor organization. They run their shit badly. They were way, way over the cap. Had to make desperate moves here to get under the cap.
They do every year.
But are they really supposed to take an approximately $55 million over 2 years cap hit on a guy who retired?
No, that's ridiculous.
Because he's got a bum shoulder?
That is absolutely ridiculous.
This is why you and I always say this, guaranteed contracts suck.
Yep.
I mean, look at this. And the NFL doesn't even have fully guaranteed contracts that much, that often.
No, it's a rarity. You got to be able to cut bait if you have to, without it impacting you forever.
And again, if somebody quits,
if they retire,
why are you
done.
on the hook for anything at that point? Why are you on the hook for anything at that point? There should be some level of responsibility on the part of the player to fulfill the contract. Now, if Derek Carr decided, I'll stay on the roster, you're not going to like it, and I'll have to have shoulder surgery, and it'll keep me out a year, then they're stuck.
They're still stuck with
They're
that.
stuck. But for him to say, I'm going to go play golf if my shoulder will let me, but you guys still owe me, that's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit.
Or, fine, pay the guaranteed part, but it shouldn't count against the cap.
I don't
You
understand
don't honor
it.
the full contract, you just pay off the guaranteed bit, and then everything else rolls off. It's a clean break.
Well, supposedly that's how it works. They don't have to pay him any more of his salary.
But why does it... I still don't get why it counts as a dead cap hit.
Because that was the guaranteed part of the money when they signed him to his contract.
Whatever.
And I still don't understand why it's guaranteed if he quits. Why is it guaranteed if he quits?
See, now I hate the dead cap hit on players traded. If the next team is accepting the contract, why should you be still stuck with the dead part of it when somebody else is now paying it?
Yeah, because in the NFL...
Because that's double dipping on the caps.
In the NFL, if you paid the guaranteed money, you're stuck paying the guaranteed money. The other team inherits the salary, but you're stuck with all the guaranteed money, the signing bonus, all of that. You're stuck with it.
Nope, it should transfer on.
All right, let's move on to my third commissioner rant as we move on to the NBA. Of course, the playoffs are in full swing. The Knicks and the Celtics are involved in a very tight game right now. Game 5 in the Eastern Conference semifinals.
Yep, it's a back and forth affair. Celtics trying to stave off elimination, trailing 3-1.
And of course, the terrible, awful news in all of this. Now, the Knicks would have won Game 4 anyway, because I watched the end of it. But Jason Tatum falling to the ground, falling to the court in absolute agony. You knew what had happened.
Yep, another ruptured Achilles. I remember going forever as a sports fan from when I was paying attention to injuries and all, late 70s all the way through now. Very rarely did you hear about a ruptured Achilles. And now they're happening all the damn time.
Especially in basketball and football. Yep.
I mean, it's ridiculous. What kind of training are they undergoing? I mean, it's stupid that you have all these problems.
So we will see if the Celtics can hold on, make the Knicks a little nervous, and force a Game 6 back at Madison Square Garden. Now, one of the 4 series in the NBA is over, and that would be the Indiana Pacers.
They took out the Cleveland Cavaliers 4-1, and the Cavs really weren't in this series at all. The Pacers outplayed them.
And I'm getting a little sick of the Pacers are lucky. The Pacers are lucky. Number one, you play the team you're supposed to play.
Yep.
And sorry if... Is anybody crying for the Knicks right now? Saying, oh my God, it's just such a shame that we can't play the Celtics at full strength. No. You think any New York fan right now is crying?
No, absolutely
and saying, oh, I feel so bad for those Boston fans. Why the hell do the Pacers have to deal with a different set of standards? Why is the Pacers considered lucky? Because the Cavaliers were banged up. Oh. That's not the Pacers' fault.
Nope, they played the game. That's just how it falls.
And again, this will be my 3rd week in a row of saying this. Fuck everybody who rips on Tyrese Halliburton. That man has stepped up this year. He is hitting more clutch shots than anybody else.
He has become the leader of that team.
And don't tell me that when he heard he was voted the most overrated player in the league.
That didn't put a chip on his shoulder.
Yep. Don't tell me that's still not burning in his crotch like a venereal disease. Because it is. And they have constructed that team very well. I love Pascal Siakam. He's got a ring with the Raptors.
Yep.
So he's got a championship pedigree. Miles Turner has been a lifer.
And you got a solid coach in Rick Carlisle.
Yep, who's got a ring himself.
Yep.
So, oh my God, Knicks Pacers again. Oh, if we're heading for that again.
Hoo-hoo, baby.
Then on the Western Conference side of things, Oklahoma City is up 3-2 on the Denver Nuggets, and the Minnesota Timberwolves taking advantage of
the curryless Warriors.
Yep. They're supposed to be playing later tonight, of course. Will Steph Curry make a dramatic reemergence tonight?
Yep, we'll see, but the Wolves are up 3-1. They can eliminate the Warriors tonight as we tape.
Now, I still think Oklahoma City's the favorite, but all this other topsy-turvy stuff is crazy, where we're going to possibly looking at a 3-4 matchup in the East for the championship, and then the T-Wolves are, a 6 seed in the West?
Yeah.
And they're dangerous, and they are dangerous.
Yeah, this is fun stuff, where it was a foregone conclusion. Oh, just put the Celtics and the Cavs in the Eastern Conference Championship. Nope, not so fast.
In other basketball news, the Portland Trail Blazers are now officially for sale, as the estate of Paul Allen, longtime owner, has put them on the market. And why can't we just say charity anymore? All proceeds from the sale of the Trailblazers will go to, quote, philanthropic endeavors, unquote.
Going to charity. God, I'm sick of everybody having to rephrase everything.
Woke speak. It's got to be woke speak, Dave. And then, of course, we talked here last week about this over the last week and a half, we had what they call the upfronts for all the networks and Netflix and Amazon Prime, where they announce all their big projects coming for the next year. And last week we started to talk about how with the NBA coverage starting up again,
that they had to slash shows.
Slashing
to pay
shows.
For it.
Yeah. Unbelievable. If you do the math, the networks get 21 hours of primetime coverage. Sunday can be 4 hours, so that could technically be 22. It's 3 hours a night, 4 hours on Sunday.
Yeah.
Give or take. NBC is only going to have 7 hours of scripted programming a week. And 5 of that is going to be Chicago Fire, PD, and Med, and then the two Law and Orders.
Yeah.
So that leaves 2 hours of other scripted programming. Otherwise, it's all sports, reality shows, game shows. How sad is network TV right now?
That is pathetic.
But we talked about Carmelo Anthony jumping on board with NBC as one of their NBA analysts. And now the news, dun, 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 big, let's do the Law and Order. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun. Gunk, gunk.
Gunk, gunk. There we go. Gunk, gunk. Michael Jordan will now be an NBA on NBC, quote-unquote, special correspondent.
Oh, my.
So what the hell does that mean? Whenever he decides he wants to show up and collect a paycheck, he'll jump in and say something?
Well, he's got to get a little bit of extra money to pay for this lawsuit against NASCAR.
And we'll get to that, because that's very interesting. And
that's
how
getting
they got
crazy.
a judge who's not real happy with the situation.
Yeah, it's
With 23-11 and
front row getting to run.
Yeah. So Michael might be. You're right. Michael might be trying to make up some of those legal fees.
There we go.
But my rant about the alien, Adam Silver, and this goes back before him, so at least I will admit this is a problem with the NBA.
The NBA's had this issue for a long damn time.
And Dwayne Wade, by the way, one of the greatest basketball players in the NBA over the last 20, 25 years, came out today and basically said, it's a business. They're going to do what they want to do when it comes to the draft lottery.
Yes.
Because I was close, Dave. I was close, goddammit.
You were one off.
I was so fucking close.
You were one
I was
off.
completely wrong about the Lakers, but I was real close with this draft stuff, where I said the Spurs would end up getting the number 1 pick. Well, they got the number 2 pick.
Number 1 went to Dallas.
Rewarding the team that just arguably made the worst trade in NBA history. And then number 3, the Philadelphia 76ers, who will do anything and everything possible, despite the fact they're handed top draft picks over.
Draft.
They will shit the bed, yet somehow we're going to let them have another one.
No. Just no.
The Mavericks kids had a 1.8% chance of landing the top pick, and yet somehow they got it. Now, I understand we're trying to get teams to stop tanking. I get that. But here's my problem with this. And number 1, I 100%, as a firm believer in any and every conspiracy theory out there, firmly believe this was rigged. Because there are multiple reasons why you would give the number 1 pick to the Dallas Mavericks. Number 1 conspiracy theory is there was an implicit agreement made under the table, because everybody criticized the Dallas Mavericks for not shopping Luka Doncic and just basically saying, nope, we're just going to give him to the Lakers. We're just working with the Lakers, and that's the only team we're dealing with.
And we're going to take undervalue back.
So conspiracy theory number 1 is there was an agreement under the table
between the NBA, the Lakers, and the Mavericks.
You give one of our top young stars to the Lakers, because the Lakers always have to be relevant. The Lakers have to be relevant.
No, they don't.
In the eyes of the NBA, they do.
Well,
now you see, you're thinking like you were thinking earlier with the Dallas Cowboys. Much harder to fix that. So that's conspiracy theory number 1. is that there was an implicit agreement under the table. You make this trade. Do not shop Luka.
Just
give him to
trade.
our showcase franchise
let's
pair
see
him.
If we can get them up in the playoffs and maybe have a chance to make the finals.
Yep. Get the ratings up. Get the awareness back up for the Lakers. And then we will somehow, someway, figure out a way that you will get the number one pick and get you Cooper Flag. Now, conspiracy theory number 2 is that, of course, this is a new ownership group. And there have been rumblings and rumors that the new ownership group isn't necessarily happy with the team in Dallas, and they might want to move it. Unless they're allowed to build a casino, an entire entertainment complex.
Lord. Here we go again.
But in order to do that, you have to increase awareness in their team.
You have to have
bump up the revenue.
Young star.
Yep.
Who you just traded away.
Now, conspiracy theory number 3 is really nutsy, cuckoo, crazy. But there are people out there who are saying they don't believe the Mavericks will keep the number 1 pick. They will trade it in another under-the-table deal with the NBA. They will trade it for an aging superstar like I don't want to say Giannis, because the NBA doesn't care about Milwaukee.
Right.
The NBA doesn't give 2 shits about Milwaukee. But they will figure out a way to help out one of these other franchises that they seem to love so much in order to get Cooper Flag to where they want him to be.
Oh, gee, would that be maybe L.A.?
I don't think they would go L.A. again. They would need to make it work for another high-profile franchise, but I don't think it would be the Lakers. But all this being said,
maybe there's your Popovich line there.
Yeah. Haven't even gone there. Goes, the Spurs didn't get the number 1 pick, Kev. Oh, so they're only going to get one of the top 3 players who everybody, from what I've heard, all 3 of them, the other 2 are going to be the 2 from Rutgers who are potential superstars. And now, so the Spurs are going to have 3 top-level rookies that they've drafted in the last 3 years. So somehow the Spurs, and I believe the NBA will also do this with the Thunder. They will, now that the Thunder is a more notable franchise, let's say, they will protect these franchises. Spurs are the only team in San Antonio, only major sports team. Thunder, only major sports team
in Oklahoma.
Now, they're hypocrites when it comes to that, because look at the franchises they have destroyed here in this particular draft. The Utah Jazz are now screwed.
They're effed forever.
As they had the most opportunity, the best percentage to get that number 1 pick, and now they drop all the way to 5, I believe. I think Charlotte got 4.
Yeah.
But Charlotte's another one. The league doesn't give 2 rip shits about them. Don't tell me they care about New Orleans.
Nope.
If Portland falls into the right hands, then they will begin to care about them again.
Maybe. Depends on the ownership group.
They don't care about the Sacramento Kings at all.
No, the Kings have always been
I will
afterthought.
Just always say this.
The Kings and the Clippers have always been an afterthought.
Well, now they love the Clippers because they got rid of the quote-unquote racist owner and brought in the guy that they love, Ballmer.
Whatever.
All I'm saying is, you don't have to believe in conspiracies.
We will.
I do. Dave does. The NBA is manipulating their draft to help the franchises they want, going all the way back to Patrick Ewing and the New York Knicks. And I don't care if you like it or not, it's the truth. Ever since they tightened the rules up on the draft lottery and made the odds a little bit worse for the most inept franchise, the losingest team, ever since they tightened that up and lowered their odds, which is about 8 years ago.
How often they still wind up there.
No, they never get the number one pick.
Ooh.
They never get the number one pick. Ever since they did this initiative to lower the odds for the worst team to get the number one pick, the worst team has never gotten the number one pick. And that includes my Orlando Magic jumped, remember?
Oh, yeah.
To get Paolo. They were not even close to having the best odds. And they somehow jumped up and got Paolo Banchero. They've always treated Orlando well, too. Again, only professional team in that city.
Intriguing. Very intriguing.
I know what I'm talking about, kids. I do. Your Uncle Dave does as well. And we will let him rant here as we move on to the NHL.
Fuck Joe Quenneville. All I'm going to say, he should not be coaching again. Absolute horrible decision to have allowed him the opportunity.
Of course, Joel Quenneville will now be the head coach for the Anaheim. Are they the Mighty Ducks again?
I don't know.
Are they just the Ducks?
We'll just call them the Ducks.
I know you'd like to change that D to an F.
Yeah, exactly. God.
And of course, if you don't know the background,
there was the big sex scandal that the Blackhawks allowed to perpetuate between Quenneville and Stan Bowman and other front office folks with their video coach against Kyle Beach. Swept under the rug. So, of course, Bowman and Quenneville were banned from holding any position along with a couple of other folks. Well, Bettman, ban's over. You can hire them now. Well, Bowman got a gig right off the bat, even though he's a hack as a GM. Now, Quenneville, a year later, gets another coaching opportunity. Before this, I've heard interviews with him. He sounded like he still didn't understand what was wrong with how they handled the situation. Now he read from a script where they coached him up that, oh yes, I've been taking awareness courses, blah, 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 blah. All lip service. Don't buy it.
as far as the playoffs go, Carolina Hurricanes are up 3-1 on the Washington Capitals.
Jets are up 3-1 on the Stars.
Nope, flip it. Flip it. Stars are up 3-1.
The Stars are up, sorry.
Stars are up 3-1 on the Winnipeg Jets.
Wrote that wrong.
Edmonton Oilers are up 3-1 on the Las Vegas Golden Knights. And the Florida Panthers and Toronto Maple Leafs are tied at 2 games apiece. And I am going to do something unprecedented. I am going to have, for the second week in a row, my same exact Clint Eastwood Badass of the Week.
Doubling up.
Mikko Rantanen of the Dallas Stars. Did it again. Had a hat trick in Game 1 versus the Winnipeg Jets. All 3 goals scored in the second period, which means that he is the first player ever with multiple, let's call them period hat tricks, in the same postseason. And he also set a record for a 13 straight goal streak. 13 straight playoff goals where he either scored the goal or assisted. That is the longest streak in NHL playoff history. The next closest was Mario Lemieux at 9.
Wow.
Yep, so Mikko Rantanen
Wow.
got to 13.
He is on fire.
Yep, and as we just mentioned, he has got his team up 3-1 on the Winnipeg Jets. So, let's see. What's he... Geez.
Looking to close out on Thursday.
Yeah, what's he going to do? Is he going to actually be able to do something to make it 3 weeks in a row as my Clint Eastwood badass? Is he going to have a three-way with Kate Beckinsale and Elizabeth Hurley?
Well, let's see.
That's what he's going to have to do.
He's had a hat trick in the third period. In the second period, maybe he gets a hat trick in the first period in the next round.
I prefer to think about the three-way with
Kate Beckinsale and
Elizabeth
Hurley.
Yeah. And just ignore him. Insert me. Insert me. And I'm inserting a lot in that scenario. I'm inserting, and I'm inserting, and I'm inserting. That could be a dickerous situation. You're flying too close to the sex sun, maestro.
Oh, my.
Now, of course, not a lot going on in college football right now. Eventually, probably next week, considering there are some things on the horizon this weekend, we will probably end up discussing the whole Bill Belichick situation again. I believe he's scheduled for a sit-down this Friday morning with Michael Strahan on Good Morning America. So we'll see if anything... Well, he lets anything slip on that.
You know she's going to be right there by his side, telling Strahan, you can't ask that question.
We will see.
It's going to be script. She has the script already written. And you know this.
The June 1 deadline is approaching quickly. The June 1 deadline, kids, if you don't understand the situation with Bill Belichick and his taking this head coaching position with the University of North Carolina, he has an out, a $1 million buyout, where he can quit immediately, paying the school $1 million. And that is a June 1st deadline.
Yep.
So we're a couple weeks away. Some people are saying that some of the higher-ups at North Carolina might actually be hoping and praying
that he takes the buyout?
Yeah.
Yeah. Whew.
But sad news out of Miami. Linebacker Adarius Hayes. He is out of the hospital. That's not the sad part. He's out of the hospital after a two-car crash that took the lives of 3 people, including 2 young children. Now, I am hoping that there is nothing nefarious involved here. The one thing that worries me, not about Adarius, but the other car, was that the driver, I believe, was 78 years old.
Eesh.
I think she was driving her grandchildren or her great-grandchildren. So I'm not speculating.
We don't know. We gotta wait for the official investigation to run its course.
Yeah, she, along with the two of the 3 young kids she had in the car, died. So I hope this just turns out to be nothing more than an accident.
Yeah. God, please, no excessive speed, no.
And it did not, obviously,
DUI,
considering who was involved,
whatever.
did not happen late at night. This happened middle of the day.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just hope again this was just an unfortunate, terrible accident.
Yeah.
All right, little bit of miscellaneous sports news before we move on to Moments of Silence and our Red Foreman Dumbasses of the Week. Dave will be happy this week because I only got 3.
Wow.
So, yeah. And then when we get to the weekend edition, I am going to do something different. Because the weekend edition has got me so depressed in terms of our dumbasses that I'm going to do something we've never done before. But for sports, it's just the usual. All right. Have you seen the picture of Nicolas Cage and Christian Bale?
I have.
Nicolas Cage as John Madden and Christian Bale as Al Davis.
Bale looks like...
Bale is the greatest
He is
fucking
phenomenal.
actor ever. He will be a
His
chameleon.
transformation is unbelievable.
He's
in
a
whatever
chameleon.
He does.
This is why he is the greatest actor. Is because he's a chameleon. He will do anything and everything needed to get himself into the role.
Yeah.
Whereas Nicolas Cage just looks like Nicolas Cage with a wig on.
Yeah. Bale is like Kilmer in that regard.
Yep.
Where they will chameleon
Kilmer
into...
or Daniel Day-Lewis was kind of like that.
Yeah.
Even younger De Niro was like that.
Yeah.
Like with Raging Bull. But, yeah. The Christian Bale part of it gets me excited. To see him, he's all
Playing
in on
Davis.
Al Davis.
Yeah. Big time.
Yep. So if you kids have not seen this, jump out there. There's a nice, interesting picture of these two.
Yeah.
Side by side, showing their Super Bowl rings in character. Now, of course, I mentioned earlier that I couldn't remember, or I'd forgotten that ESPN had the rights to the 2027 Super Bowl, which is bad for all of us. Of course, they're celebrating by saying that, oh, Chris Berman will still be around for the Super Bowl.
Why? We don't want Berman anymore.
Chris Berman
He's done.
Chris Berman has just gotten a contract extension with ESPN that will keep him there through 2029.
Why?
So he'll become the first ESPN employee ever to reach 50 years with the company. Never was a Berman guy.
No. Never a big fan.
Nope. Oh, but ESPN, they're not done with us yet, Dave. The ESPN standalone app has now been officially announced, and it will be called ESPN.
Dun, dun, dun. There's a shock.
And I only saw a couple comments on the story that I read when this was announced. It'll be launching in early fall.
And cost how much a month?
$30.
$30 a month for the ESPN app.
For their channels, yes. $30 a month.
Right there with Marquee, Chicago Sports. Yeah, that sounds about right. That's probably what the Yankees charge for theirs and the Dodgers for theirs. Nope. Not gonna happen.
That's where I was going with the comments. The few comments I saw
Nagada.
were like, nope, that price point is a non-starter. Nobody's going to buy into this for $30 a month.
Nope. They're insane.
Seriously. Outside of ESPN and maybe ESPN2, what do you care?
You don't.
And you can still get them all on your cable.
Yeah.
Or your YouTube TV. Or your Sling TV. Or whatever you have.
Unless they're we're going to renegotiate.
Yeah. I'm wondering about that. That's a good call. I'm wondering about that.
You know they're going to want more. You know this.
They're going to try to force everybody into getting the app.
Yeah. Nope.
This whole streaming thing has turned into an absolute nightmare.
What started out as, this could be great. No, it's become a shit show.
Yep. And then last story before we move on to Moments of Silence. Now, we did talk about boxing last week, but we talked about boxing in a negative light. Well, this probably won't help. One of the few names that I know in recent history when it comes to boxing And, of course, this happens all the time. This goes back
Forever.
decades and decades and decades. The older fighter
I
coming
gotta
out of
come
retirement.
back one more time. I gotta do it again. Oh, Manny. Manny.
46-year-old Manny Pacquiao is going to end his 4-year retirement, and he will face Mario Barros on July the 19th for the WBC welterweight belt.
Manny, just stay at home.
It's all about the money, man. You dangle that cash, that
carrot.
paycheck in front of him.
Boy.
No, we did not forget NASCAR, goddammit. Maybe almost, but no, we didn't.
We don't have any picks for this week because the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro is this coming weekend.
Yep. This coming Sunday, May the 18th, is the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, and I'm sorry, I am a big, huge NASCAR fan, as is Dave, but the All-Star race does nothing for me.
It used to be more fun. I don't know why it's gotten so lame over the years. Probably because they're throwing all these extra bullshit things at it.
And that's fine because this weekend, of course, is the PGA Championship, which I will be watching and we will recap for you next week. And yes, Rory McIlroy's the favorite. Fuck Rory McIlroy!
No.
So, whenever I decide to stumble out of bed tomorrow morning, I will turn on the Golf Channel and watch
Begin coverage.
Yes. But we do have to recap Kansas City. The Kansas Speedway race last week.
Kyle Larson dominated.
Or did he? Did he really dominate the Advent Health 400? As I told you, I'm not trying to be an arrogant, cocky winner. I am not.
No, but he did what needed to be done. One stage 2. Fastest lap and got the win. But
there were problems with his car in terms he was wearing out the right, I believe it was the right rear tire quicker than he would have liked. And when they were getting on long runs at the end of stage 2 and at the end of the race, he was one lap away. He was going to lose stage 2 to Chase Elliott, and he was going to lose the race to Christopher Bell if it had gone one lap further, because that right rear was going. Now, speaking of drivers who did not make it through the race because of issues, we have one A.J. Allmendinger.
boom goes the motor.
7 laps in.
Yeesh. Not good.
Almost unheard of for an engine to blow up 7 laps into a race. And he had some choice words for ECR engines. And that would, of course, be Earnhardt Childress Racing. So, yeah.
Not good.
And on top of that, last time I checked the All-Star fan vote for the 5 guys who will get voted in, I voted for the Dinger, but he didn't make it. He didn't make it, Dave. The Dinger went limp.
So sad.
But Bubba got in. Fuck Bubba. Fuck Bubba.
Rigged.
You said it, I didn't. It's rigged as about as much as the NBA draft lottery. But yes, Kyle Larson did dominate to an extent.
To an extent.
If you look at it on the surface, yes. If you dig it a little deeper, very close. Very close. But now, the really sad part of all this is that now after the All-Star race, no more Fox broadcasting coverage.
Alas.
So now we move
Sadness.
on to see how Prime Video will handle what the next 5 races I believe they get.
Yeah. Don't they pretty much have the old NBC team?
I was just going to say, yeah. It's Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Steve Letarte, basically.
Yeah.
And I think that almost carries through all the way for the rest of the season. I don't know about what TNT's got for the in-season tournament. There it is, the Horn of Disgrace.
The in-season tournament. My ass. So stupid.
But yeah.
Quit poaching. Do your own thing.
You know how much I love Mike Joy and Clint Boyer and Kevin Harvick. And what do they do? Because great fans like us love them, they give us less and less every year.
It's so
Idiots.
sad.
Idiots.
Don't know what they're doing.
All right, now we move on to moments of silence, and we have one big moment of silence involving a former White Sox player.
Yep. Center fielder Chet Lemon started his career playing for the White Sox in the mid to late 70s, and then finished his career with the Tigers, winning a World Series in '84. Has passed away after long-suffering illness. Chet Lemon was one of my favorite players as a kid growing up. Whenever we got to go to a game, watching him play center field was so much fun. Just loved his whole game, the attitude he brought, interviews, always, I don't know, there's just something there that he was somebody that I followed.
And even for me, where I would tend to gravitate, of course, to find the Cubs on WGN, there were times when I would end up on channel 44 and see the White Sox on and see Chet Lemon and the guys in the shorts
with the big collars.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Bill Veck, you wacky owner, you.
So yeah, Chet Lemon was definitely an integral part of our baseball experience growing up.
He will be missed, so thoughts and prayers to his family and friends.
Yep. So what do we do, Dave?
Pivot! Find out who wins the Golden Boot up the ass. Which contestant will be the Red Foreman Dumbass of the Week?
And as you mentioned earlier, it could have been easy to put all three commissioners from baseball, football, and basketball in here.
And it would have been a three-way tie.
But I don't want to imagine that three-way.
No, oh God, no.
Can we please go back to Elizabeth Hurley and Kate Beckinsale? All right, only got 3 this week. I don't know why. This week I was very, very, I don't know, generous. Selective, generous in terms of maybe not hating my fellow man quite as much as I would normally. Although when we get to the weekend edition,
all bets are off.
Well, as I said, we're doing something a little bit different for the weekend edition. And because there's a running theme, let's put it that way, throughout a lot of the weekend edition.
So we got the runs.
But on the weekend edition, see, there you go again. You see, I told you there was going to be a story.
You alluded to something.
Involving brown matter.
And I ran with it.
Some dookie. But we're going to be reviewing Thunderbolts,
Woohoo!
Black Bag, Season 2 of Tracker, the brand new album from Counting Crows. So definitely check out your Saturday morning hangover cure, your favorite politically incorrect pop culture commentary podcast, Sports Frenzy 2.0, the weekend edition, where we will veer from ultimately amazingly positive to the deepest, darkest depths
of hell.
And my bowels. No, just
Moon River.
Use the whole fist there, Doc. All right, 3 nominees here on the Sports Edition. Red Foreman. Very tough decision for him this week, for us. First up, Draymond Green. Of course, he is a frequent visitor to this particular part of the show. Draymond Green, some people, I don't know how I feel about him. Because I understand the need for, we know in hockey you need to have an enforcer.
Right.
And I don't know anything about hockey, but one of my favorite hockey players is Zdeno Chara. I loved him because he was, to me, the ultimate enforcer.
You got to go back in the day. Detroit had Bob Probert. And then you had, was it Ty Domi?
Yep.
Bertuzzi.
See, I know those names because
they were, Bertuzzi and Domi went beyond where they should have been convicted of assault on multiple times for the shit they did.
So now in the NBA, we look at this and we think of what? Charles Oakley, Dennis Rodman,
yeah,
and then, of course, Draymond Green. But here's the thing. Where Charles Oakley and Dennis Rodman embraced that role, Draymond Green ends up a lot of the time being a little whiny bitch when he's supposed to be the tough guy.
There are a lot of times where they're singling him out. There's a lot of fouls and flagrants and everything he's been given that he really didn't deserve. Granted, he's done enough to put a target on his back, but there are some times where it's so damn ticky-tack that he doesn't deserve some of them.
And that's why I'm torn in terms of his legacy. Is he a Hall of Famer?
Probably not.
But I think he went a little too far here within the last week, where after one of these games, he said there was a quote-unquote agenda to portray him as a, quote, angry black man, unquote. Well, you're black. You seem angry.
You're angry.
You seem like you like to beat up on people. So I don't know if that's an agenda, buddy. I think you are an angry black man.
Yeah. Now,
sorry.
You went a little too far going that route. But
the conspiracy theory.
Having seen the play, it wasn't that egregious. They targeted him on that one.
Well, I told you before we started recording tonight, early on in the Knicks Celtics game,
they're letting the Knicks get away with
Jalen Brunson punched one of the Celtics in the balls.
And no
call. But meanwhile, the tall, geeky white guy for the Celtics raises his arms, happens to catch, I believe it was Josh Hart,
running
on
by
the forehead,
him.
And they, Reggie Miller, Reggie Miller used to be good. And now
why is he sucking up to the Knicks?
Yeah.
The last team he should be sucking up to.
Good Lord, what is he going to be like if it's the Knicks and the Pacers?
Recuse himself?
So I'm sorry. I have to put Draymond Green on this list because of the whole conspiracy theory aspect of this. Where, he's acting like the league is out to get him. And then he has to pull the race card on top of it.
Yeah.
Now, I know this is the kind of stuff that really ticks you off. And it's disgusting beyond belief. And this is what we have to deal with in this world we live in now. Houston pitcher Lance McCullers, who is just coming back after massive arm issues. He needs time. A guy's not going to come back after, 2 years out?
Yeah, don't expect him to be dominant.
But you're
going
to have to put him out there so he gets back and he gets acclimated to pitching in a game, a regular Major League Baseball game, gets back in game shape. So he had a rough time this past Saturday against the Cincinnati Reds.
Why aren't you giving him more time in the minors and working your way up through it? You can't just rush a guy back like that.
Well, he pitched a third of an inning and let up 7 earned runs. But getting death threats and people threatening to stab his children.
God, you fucking trolls die.
and this is why I will always say the one terrible, awful thing that has come out of our modern day technology over the last 20 years that I would erase in a second is social media.
Yep.
Comments. Get rid of comments on every story. Now, I'll give ESPN credit for that. ESPN, from what I can tell, does not allow comments anymore. You can put a little emoji, but you cannot comment on their stories.
Comments should be done away with.
And then finally, one thing that sucks. Now, Dave and I actually got together the other night with his family, graciously invited me to go to the movies so we could see Thunderbolts. And so we end up talking in the car on the way to the movie, on the way back. And so I spoil some of these things that we're going to discuss on the podcast, at least for him and me. Not for you. But one of those was the fact that we talked earlier about Pope Leo XIV. And of course, we had the battle between, initially somebody said he's a Cubs fan. And then, of course, the truth comes out. No, he's a White Sox fan.
Yeah, after Wrigley posted on the marquee out front.
But then an ancillary sports issue with Pope Leo XIV involves Villanova.
Yep, where he went to college.
Now, you want to talk about the stupidity of people grasping at straws?
Yeah,
just show me a sign! Just show me a sign, Lord! Because the newly elected Pope went to Villanova in the first 24 hours after he was elected, bets on Villanova men's basketball to win the 2026
tournament
exploded to the point where there was more action in that 24-hour window on Villanova than there was on any other college basketball team combined.
Wow.
You people realize the hypocrisy in what you're doing here? I don't think anybody was jumping.
So bad.
I don't think anybody was jumping on the Caesars app, placing bets on the White Sox,
or the Bears.
Yeah, but for some reason, Villanova was attracting all the money, all the action.
The sports meatballs have reared their ugly heads once again, my friend.
See, now you do that, you're making me miss the old days of SNL, back when they were good. Instead of it all being political crap like it is now. The old days of the Bears. All right, so Dave, your choices along with the audience. Of course, always feel free, kids, to drop us a comment and let us know who you would choose. We'll take disagreements. We will take dissension. We got no problem with it.
We encourage it.
We will fight the trolls.
Fuck the trolls.
We are troll
Death
hunters.
to the trolls. The trolls are the true dumbasses.
We've dealt with trolls in the past. What was it, LSU trolls?
Yeah.
That we had a number of years ago?
Yeah, I gotta go with the fucking trolls. I hate those assholes.
The death threats against Lance McCullers.
And his family.
Yep. Then, of course, the other choices were Draymond Green for his paranoia and his conspiracy theory, and for
the Villanova bettors.
Idiotic betting on Villanova. Because
that would have been it, but I just... the trolls, I fucking hate them.
Boy, I'm torn.
I know.
I'm kind of like, all three of these are equal to me. See, you're giving Draymond Green a little more leeway than I would.
A little more leeway.
Because anytime you pull the race card,
I
especially when you have all the past behavior to actually back up the angry black man stereotype.
But death threats to kids is over the fucking line.
I agree. And unfortunately, as I said, the weekend edition we're going to go even darker. And we're not even going to do a vote on the weekend edition.
Yeah.
We're going to have a little philosophical discussion of the disgusting dark corners of humanity. Instead of actually picking a Red Foreman dumbass on the weekend edition. But there you go, kids. That will do it for another great, glorious episode of Sports Frenzy 2.0.
Your favorite politically incorrect sports commentary.
Of course, we hope you enjoyed it as much as Dave and I enjoyed bringing it to you. And be aware about the YouTube conversion. It is going to happen. Now, it might just happen for a short moment before YouTube bans us, but it will happen.
Ooh, maybe we get a red band.
Couldn't they give us a red band? Like a trailer?
I don't know if we can get a red band.
Like the red band trailers? Maybe we should
ask for one. Ooh.
I know I can tell them we have adult content. Well, sorry. Explicit content. Yes. No, we're not turning into Pornhub 2.0.
Although we could. No. We're not going there.
No. But we will see how the YouTube experiment turns out. Now, once everything is uploaded, and again, it's going to take a week. When we do this next week, recording on May the 21st, hopefully, we'll be able to give you an update telling you may now go out to YouTube and listen, in addition to all of your other favorite podcast platforms that we mentioned earlier. I'm excited about this, but knowing the way the world works, somehow we will get banned.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me.
Before, it was the copyright stuff.
The commissioners are going to come after us.
It's okay. I've listened to different radio hosts talk about how they wear it as a badge of honor when they get banned from Facebook or wherever. Yeah. So we will just wear it as a badge of honor. And I damn sure, Skippy, if we get banned, I will plaster it all over Facebook.
Yep. Banned again.
The now currently banned from YouTube. Sports Frenzy 2.0. Available exclusively on Facebook. Like, wait a minute. No,
Spotify, Good Pods, Pocket Cast, Apple, Overcast, CastBox, Amazon, Audible, and iHeart Sports Radio, baby. iHeart Sports Frenzy, yes, whatever.
iHeart Radio.
Yes.
You actually almost said it correctly.
I almost said it correctly. Had to catch myself. But you know where to find us.
That's your Uncle Dave, the Conquistador Dave Heights.
That's your Uncle Kev, the Maestro Kevin Crane.
Don't forget to check out the weekend edition. Plenty of fun stuff. You got to hear the Dookie story from the Maestro. I think a lot of positive reviews this week. And then, of course, a very somber negative Red Foreman dumbass edition. Because
Special edition.
I am just sick and tired of deviant, disgusting celebrities.
Amen.
And it doesn't even warrant us voting on it.
No.
It's just a general discussion. But until then, of course, remember next week, if you don't want to listen to the pop culture commentary Saturday morning, and why wouldn't you, we'll do this again next Wednesday night, dropping Thursday morning. But we hope you have a great week nonetheless. And until we talk to you again, say goodnight to the kids, Dave.
Good night to the kids, Dave.